So this is it. This is our first episode of Sketching with David Butler. We have our treasure chest. Just to tell you a little story about this treasure chest of goodies we have here. This is actually my biological father's tackle box. My mother gave this to me when I was younger, and you can literally see on the back of it, it has his signature stripped right on time. So ever since I was a kid, I've always kept this as one of my main boxes to keep dry media in.
Did he make it?
Actually, one of his childhood friends, Mr. Alan Horton, aka Baby O, made this for him, and that's his little signature right there. So it's kind of a way I can still keep in touch with my pops, even though he's gone. He's got some type of presence in my life always, especially when I'm making, because he was an artist himself. Yeah. So yeah. First things first. Scott Woods. We have Scott Woods in the building. You probably aren't able to see folks, but this is a new idea of not being able to see the person that you're talking, the people that are talking on camera. And hopefully it's something that you guys really enjoy, because what the concept of this show is we're going to have invited Scott here to actually draw with me on our large, just craft paper, simple paper that you find in your regular elementary school. And I always like to reminisce about the times when we were kids and where expression wasn't really something that was critiqued a lot. And I think being a kid is kind of one of those things where you don't get judged as much when you just do random things like sit and draw and talk to somebody.
Right.
And that's one of my favorite things doing with my younger nieces and other kids from the crew that we have. Yeah. And we I always like sitting and drawing, and whatever comes up is what comes up. But you can feel free to choose from the treasure chest, treasure trove, whatever you would like. Regular pens.
I see a couple of weapons of choice.
Weapons of choice. I like those. And some of them are completely, utterly random. And I like how certain things make marks, and everything has a different mark making element. So I'm gonna go ahead and start us off with this process. So go ahead and tell me about yourself, Scott.
So I am a writer and organizer, among other things. Those are my two big hats of choice. That's what I'm known for most these days. And I've been in Columbus all my life. I wasn't born here, but I was raised here.
Yeah?
I was born in Louisiana. And but I've been here pretty much all my life. My family is all from Ohio.
Okay.
Louisiana was a temporary stop.
Okay.
And so I'm a Columbus dude, mostly South and East Side. Yeah.
Okay, South. All right. Let's go ahead and write that down for people to know, so everybody knows where you're from. South Side and from the south part of the country. All right. So this is my questionnaire that I ask every creative if I get a chance, and I'm hoping that we can get some good answers. You can feel free to answer if you like. If you're not, you can go ahead and skip a question.
Oh no, we do this.
All right.
All the questions.
All right. So first question is, what is your hustle?
Oh wait, my hustle. So
what is your main hustle?
So right now, I have to say that it's right now my main hustle is art. It's putting on shows, it's writing. That's kind of how I'm making about 50% of what I need to make.
Okay.
That's a recent development for me because I've been working for the public library for about 20 plus years, about 24 years.
Okay.
And I just recently went down to part-time so I could devote more time to putting on dope shows and creating art and basically it's putting all that energy that was going into service and into an institution, into me.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where my energy is at right now. It's like all my main focus is kind of going into how can I keep that particular hustle going.
Okay. And how was it kind of taking that leap? How did that feel to kind of like say, you know what, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm going to move forward with it. And I'm just going to take this chance and do it.
So it was exhilarating. I've been putting it off for a while. I did a version of it once. When I would say about maybe about 15 years ago, I left my job completely. I was like, all right, I'm going to leave the library. I'm going to be a writer. That's what I'm going to do. And I did that too soon. I didn't have the skills that I needed. I didn't have the network. I didn't have the product that I needed. I have some of the tools, but I didn't have everything I needed to make that a successful go. And so that lasted about a year, and then I came back to the library. This time is very different. Like even when I did it back then, we didn't have, the internet like that. We didn't have social media almost at all. You still had to like look up agents and stuff in a book.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to write stories and screenplays and whatnot. And I was doing that, okay, but I didn't really have any way to really gauge. You couldn't build. It was much harder to build community creatively then. For what I was
free to go into my space. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
stuck in your own zone. You got the whole table.
And so now it's very different. There's the tools. To me, it's if you're actually talented and you approach what you're doing, with some intelligence, and you actually have talent, right? Then there's no reason why you can't succeed. Like all the tools are there. People are, becoming, I don't want to say millionaires, but some of them are becoming millionaires out of the bedrooms now.
Yeah.
Because, well, maybe I don't want to get too far ahead of the question, I guess, but the thing that's missing is it's not so much content. There's more content out there than we can consume. It's originality. It's an idea.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, my hustle is ideas. How can I do this new thing? How can I do this old thing a new way? How can I combine people to do awesome things? That's really what it's about for me.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. And a lot of this kind of like aligns with like our creative process of like kind of like just seeking joy, seeking happiness. So in a perfect world, like what does happiness look like for you?
The ability to do what you want without apology. And hopefully, if you really want to make a living at it, that you're able to do that too. Not that has to be your primary goal, but as long as you're getting in what makes you happy, then that's really all that you really should be looking for. I can't define your happiness. I can't say, okay, well, you really should be making a nonprofit out of this, or you really need an agent, or you should get a manager. None of that is relevant unless it's related to your happiness. If it's not related to your happiness, then it doesn't matter what I think or what you're doing. Freedom, I guess, is the fastest answer I have to that.
Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man.
Says the guy who just got free.
That's got free. Awesome. What is your greatest fear when you're trying to seek happiness? Like, what are the things that kind of worry you about, like, actually taking that leap and going to find your happiness?
That's probably got to be the same fear it is for most people. It's got to be failure. So I go out of my way to think ahead of what I'm doing. I put a lot of thought into what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden it happens. So for me, the process looks like I come up with an idea, and then like 2 days later, I'm putting out a Facebook event page or something. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is what it is, but that comes with so much experience and thought in front of it. Mm-hmm. Like the minute I have an idea, I've immediately within 5 minutes applied. So like I got an idea. I've applied like 10 questions to it, mm-hmm. right? Like out the gate before it even gets to become a thing. So, like, everything that looks fast to me is not really as fast as it appears. I beat the idea up so hard and so thoroughly, and you do that enough, and you just kind of already know where all the pitfalls are when you come up with an idea. So your brain doesn't even let you process them like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the weird answer to the question.
You feel like you're constantly berated all the time by your own brain? Like, are ideas kind of like just sprouting off that they get the most random moments? Like, what's the oddest time you've gotten like this light bulb idea?
So I'm glad you asked this. One time last year, I was really, really sick. I was laid up, fever, just couldn't move, just laid up sick. And I think it was like 1:30 or 2 in the morning, something crazy like that. I was struggling. I thought I was asleep. And I think I was asleep, but my brain was racing. And I've never really had like a fever dream like that before, like being caught up in a cycle. But what was happening, the way that it manifested was I was sitting there coming up with idea after idea after idea for event after event after event, and I could not stop my brain from doing it. And I was just laying there. I couldn't move. I've had this fever, and it's just like idea. Like it felt like every 20 seconds. It was probably something like every few minutes or something. And when I finally woke up, I remembered about half of them. Mm-hmm. And I immediately started like, okay, idea. As fast as I can remember them. And I throw those onto the pile of the ideas I already had when I was awake. And so I felt assaulted by creativity in that moment.
Yeah.
It was like I can't stop
creativity assault.
It was like a barrage, man. I just could not stop it. And I guess that's what I do when I'm not thinking about actively thinking about it. I guess I'm doing that subconsciously all the time. I just never really experienced my subconscious in that way. And it was frightening at first, but then I was like, no, I guess that's what the gift looks like.
Yeah. I tend to have like weird creative story dreams. Like like my wife knows this, but I had this random dream about doing this series of paintings that I was like all about doing this series of paintings, and I started working on them, and it was a ridiculous idea. But I'm gonna tell you about it anyway. But it was this idea where I had a dream that the world was full of. It was like a War of Worlds dream.
Uh-huh.
But instead of like those big robots that come and like dig themselves into the ground, it was jellyfish. So it was a giant jellyfish dream to where like the tentacles go into the ground and like they burrow themselves up into people's feet. And so you couldn't know who like was a jellyfish, a monster, and who wasn't.
Yeah.
And and so I was like, oh, I gotta start doing these jellyfish paintings. I had this idea that the whole world is a bunch of jellyfish aliens.
Right.
And Erica is the most supportive person in the world, so she was like, hey, that's a dope idea. You gotta do this jellyfish dream.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this jellyfish dream. And I was like, it started working on these these sketches for these paintings, and I was like, yeah, this is not exactly what I was thinking. I don't know what even the purpose of that was.
Right.
But it ended up being kind of like a reminder that that your brain doesn't really shut off even when you're sleeping. Like you're always trying to create something, even if it's not like the best idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like our curse as creatives is like in our gift.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we always have like such great ideas, but we can't ever like take a break from them.
Yes.
And then when it happens, you have to kind of capitalize on like remembering everything, because it's like it could be like a cash cow, or it could be like just a really good like idea that is going to like really provoke thought and like engage culture.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, if I forget this, if I don't tell somebody about this, I'm not going to remember it. So that's why I'm always waking my wife up. Like, all right, I got to tell you about this dream before I forget it. Because I can't just write it down or record myself, because that would be too smart, right? I have to literally wake my wife up to remind her that like my brain is more important than her sleep. So, yeah.
It's funny, I just read an interview with Neil Gaiman, the writer, and he was talking about how he's always got all these ideas, and he was saying how he has to go out of his way to get the idea down because he feels as if he doesn't, someone else gets the idea. And I thought, and I kind of operate very similarly too. It's like, man, I got to do this idea because, and part of that is self-doubt, if I'm honest. Like, I don't always see what everybody else sees in me. And so when they're like, oh, that's brilliant, that's this and that, I'm just like, yeah, it's too normal to me. So it's just like, yeah. And so I feel like if I don't hurry up and do this thing, somebody else is going to get it because it wasn't that hard. It took no effort to come to me. I got to do it before somebody else. Because the minute somebody else does a thing that I'm interested in, I'm good. Like I can't really, I'm good.
Like I get that way. I'm always afraid. Like I've seen like my ideas that come to fruition from like more famous people, and I just get so mad at myself for not like following up on it, not like executing it like fast enough. But then I always realize like, creativity is not necessarily like this, like these like individualized lunch bags. It's like really like this bucket of ideas that everybody's pulling from constantly. So if you're putting that energy out in the air, somebody else is definitely going to catch it.
Right.
Whether it be in California or across overseas, like the energy is out there, and like so. I think that's what's the beauty and the magic about creativity is that like you have like certain people that, all right, I'm over here in California. I'm Brad Pitt, and like I have this idea, and I'm gonna put this idea out, and it's like, man, I came up with that idea 2 years ago. But you forgot about it. You didn't capitalize it. You just left. So it's the same like Neil Gaiman right now.
Yeah.
It's just like it's out in the air. It's in the zeitgeist. So like now it's not yours anymore.
Right.
That's why I get mad at people when they try to like after you didn't take initiative to try to take the idea back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, people always like, yeah, they stole my idea for such and such. It's like, is it really stealing your idea if you didn't act on it, or like you didn't actually put yourself out there to try to execute something?
Right.
I don't think it could be your idea then. I think you're just mad about the fact that you didn't really take any initiative.
Yeah. Well, you know, half the game is just pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
So
that's what we all trying to do here. I feel like Columbus is like a big city for that, to where it's not only like a startup city, but like everybody's always trying to start something up. Like, you know, and
you're saying that's a good thing?
I'm saying it's a thing. Whether it's good or bad, I guess it's to be like it's to each his own.
Right.
That scenario, because I think we have so many things. Like, I always have to choose between 10 to 12 things to go to, and I'm a father now, so I can't be out and about in the streets like that. Like, you know, trying to go to 10 events in one day anymore.
Right.
Like, you know, my son goes to bed at 8:30. So like, if you want me at your event, this is for Columbus. If you want me at your events, you have to have it before 8:30, because that's when my son goes to bed. Usually we try to let him roll and keep him up, but it's just tough kind of being as involved, because everybody has a new idea and everybody thinks that they're doing something right and different.
Right.
It's like, how many combinations of coffee house interactions are we going to have? It all surrounds coffee in like these like dim lit rooms. It's like it's similar experiences, and we got to understand that that's okay. It's okay to have similar experiences, but don't try to sell me on how different it is.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I want to do this. We'll do this party where there's an artist there, then there's spoken word, and then there's music, and then there's music double and some double spoken word, but everybody's blindfolded. It sounds just like a regular open mic with blindfolds. It's not as original as you may think.
You know, but like, I'll tell you what's interesting, man. That's a real thing, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably too real for this show. But it's a trip, man. Like, for me, here's how I combat that. Like the minute that I see something, if I come up with an idea, or if I think I want to do something and somebody else has done it, that means it's off the table. Mm-hmm. Period. Now, that doesn't mean anything that I do to it will be good. Mm-hmm. So then I have to think about whatever else I'm going to do to it. So, but the thing that I'm doing all the time is I am constantly looking around. The world is a big place. Mm-hmm. So I am constantly looking around at things that have nothing to do with what I do. Mm-hmm. Right? So poetry or music or art or whatever. I'm looking at like metallurgist or whatever, and I'm like, how can I put a poem into that?
Yeah.
You know, how can I put poetry into gardening? How can I put poetry into whatever? And then I pursue that idea until it doesn't make sense or until it's awesome. And so to me, it's not about, like, people keep trying to, like, you know, people are looking for experiences now. Mm-hmm. We all get what art is. We get what art kind of more or less is. We know what music is. We know what poetry is. We know what books are. Mm-hmm. And we all kind of get the concept of what an event is, right? And so now it's about the experience. Like, that's the thing that Columbus has a deficit of. Columbus does not have a deficit of audience. It does not have a deficit of resources, right? Scratch that. It does not have a deficit of audience. It doesn't have a deficit of resources. It has a deficit of culture, of experience, of original things that will define it. Like there's culture here by definition, of course, but I mean something that is uniquely ours. You know, something that belongs to Columbus, something that represents Columbus. You know, it's that original idea thing, man. It's hard to get it. I mean, it's like a muscle. You gotta work at it. Mm-hmm. Until it becomes second nature to you to come up with something like that, or at least whittle it down to the thing that makes it original. But if your stuff ain't banging, it ain't because there ain't people, it ain't because there ain't resources. It's because it ain't the experience that they're looking for yet.
You know, that kind of reminds me of like a post that you put up online a few days ago mm-hmm. about like, you know, like people showing up like to your events, like, and how like it's kind of like you can't be mad at everybody who like doesn't show up because right. Like, you know, because you put on this event, you think that it's a great idea, but yeah, like there's a ton of audience out there. Yes. You just didn't get the pool of people that you wanted to show up to your event. Yeah. So now you're mad about the fact that
you're blaming the city.
You're blaming the city because they don't support you or don't support your initiative. But right. Like, there's a ton of people out there. Like, I know that we always I always get in like fights with people about the idea of being called a black artist, and kind of engaging only black folks in the city. Mm-hmm. How have you navigated the Columbus like creative scene as an artist of color, as a black man, like, you know, operating in like these? I would say you have a larger and wider reach than I do in the city because you've been in gang OG status to me. Like,
in about 20 years.
Yeah, so like you've been doing this way longer than I have.
Missed a lot of television.
So missed a lot of television. So I'm trying to see how you feel about being noted as a black artist in the city, one, and is that something that you feel holds you back or like gives you power within the space of making these events or like, you know, expressing yourself in the city?
Gotcha. So I am a black artist. I'm apologetic about that. Like, I'm very clear about that. I make no bones about that. To me, that is not a deficit. That is a strength. Mm-hmm. It's not all that I am. And when people, and I don't encounter them often, but if I do, when people say, "Oh, you're a black artist," that says more about them than it does about me, and I don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. All the people whose opinion I worry about in that respect understand what I'm doing and what I represent and what I'm capable of. Mm-hmm. That's why they want to deal with me, mm-hmm. right? They don't deal with me just because I'm a black artist. They understand that I'm not just a black artist, mm-hmm. and that I in no way degrade myself by pointing out that I am a black artist. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not a deficit. It's not a problem. It's not an issue to me. To me, I get to be something that other people can't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's how I feel too. It's like, you know, why would you want to shy away from it? And I feel like I always hear the same responses that like it's labeling. It keeps me kind of boxed into like this one thing, yeah. and I can't sit in that one space, and like my identity, yeah. you know, like has many intersections, which is very true. Like, you know, mm-hmm. everybody has intersectionality when it comes to identity, yeah. but I always ask folks like why is it bad to know like that you have to attach the pride for your identity yeah. to the pride for your expression?
I mean, in my experience, that's a professional argument, mm-hmm. right? That's an argument that somebody who's trying to make a go of it has. Yeah. That's not an argument that audience largely gets caught up in. Yeah. You know, you don't go to art gallery shows and, I mean, maybe you do, I don't know. I don't hear it too much where there are people who are there to see art who are like, this black art is blah blah blah. You know,
Yeah.
I hear black artists saying they don't want to be labeled this, they don't want to be left out of this, and those are not invalid concerns. I just don't know if the fact that you're a black artist is the reason why that's happening in every instance.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this too. Like, to me, it's not really like it doesn't really, for me, being known as a black artist is a beautiful thing. It has an incredible legacy, history, heritage.
Mm-hmm.
There are all these touchstones that I'm able to apply to my work that other people can't.
Mm-hmm.
Other experiences, whether I have experienced them or not,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm allowed to use in my work, right? You know, I've never seen a lynching, but I'm allowed to use it.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to apply it. That experience belongs to me. It's part of my heritage. It's part of what makes me who I am. The awareness of that is part of what makes me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm able to use that, and I can use that unapologetically, right? That's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I get to take anything that could be considered black and apply it to my art. Anytime I don't want to do that, I'm able to do that too. Right? I don't go around saying this art show is a black art show. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say, oh, my poetry reading is a black poetry reading.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get what I give you.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a good time, and it's going to be dope, and that's how that's going to go.
Yeah.
You know? So that's really my only job.
It's all about, that's what I always tell people. It's always all about executing dope ideas.
Absolutely.
And like, I'm a big fan of like anybody that has like a really cool idea and they like just go out there and they make it happen.
Yeah.
And so everybody that I roll with in my circle, you included, like, you know, I'm always looking to people who are just constantly making. That's why I can't stay on the sidelines and just be like, all right, I'm not going to make anything for the next 6 months because I never can go 2 weeks without seeing somebody's post online or seeing somebody's show or going to an event and be like, man, that's a really dope experience. I wonder if I can do something like that to capture that energy again. I need to feel that again.
Right.
You know, I need to know where I can access that again.
Right.
It's like, so it's either like I go to this person's event again or I go try to make it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like Columbus gets in a habit of like trying to like do these magical moments that are very organic and do them 50 times in a year. It's like how many more times do we need it? Like, you know, before it gets a little hard on the body. Like, you know, if you're trying to share the same experience, that's why I always try to say, like, when you did Holler, right? Yeah. And that's when we met, and that's when I like kind of fell in love with the statement that you told me. You're like, this is it.
Yeah.
It's not happening again.
Right.
Like, if you miss it, you miss it. Right. And that's the first time I heard somebody say like that in Columbus. They'd be like, I always hear like, oh, we're gonna do this again. Yeah. And you're like, you know, no. Right. No, I'm not doing this again. Like, somebody else got to take this up and do their own version of it or figure it out. But like, I'm not going to be doing this. Like, I can't.
I got 50 other ideas.
Yeah, 50 other ideas. I think things I got to do.
Yeah, I'm not hurting for ideas.
Yeah, so like that's.
But but more importantly, because that's reason enough. Me having more ideas is enough. That's enough answer. But the more important takeaway, in my opinion, is that, you know, how to speak about Howard specifically, you know, there's nothing preventing you from doing a fraction of that effort if that's what you want to see. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you want to see any of these people again, they will happily show up wherever you pay them. You just get your little venue, put on the show, and let everybody know the show's happening. You just have to do that 31 times, and that's how. Yeah. So, I it's not that deep. You know what I'm saying? It's literally just pulling the triggers. So, I mean, you know, people keep telling me, hey, you got to stop saying it like it's that easy. I get it. But the work is not the problem.
Yeah.
It's getting to pulling the trigger that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody always feels like it has to be so perfect. It has to be so thought out, fleshed out. It's like, no, sometimes I think learning on the job is a big benefit for the creative process.
Absolutely.
We do that in our studios or in your wherever you create for yourself on a regular basis. You're always trying out things and trying to figure out how this works and why this doesn't work. And I think that's a part of your process when you're putting on events too. Is saying like, okay, I'm willing for this to fail. And I'm willing to learn from it.
Yeah.
And so you want it to be great. You want people to enjoy themselves. You want people to have a good time. But if something goes wrong or like things go wrong, and a few things go wrong, you figure it out. And now that you've done like 31 different events in 1 month,
right?
You know, you have like a literal like list of like, okay, this went wrong on this day, this day, this day, and this day. This is how I'm going to fix that with my next 50 events.
All right.
This next year.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Like, for me, I've learned, and this is before Holler, well before Holler, that you have to manage expectations. And, you know, one of the failings of people who do shows or events or even just their own art is that they think bigger is better.
Yeah.
And there are some areas in life in which that is true.
Yeah.
But an artistic experience is not generally one of them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when I really got on this tear. I was watching this documentary. I don't remember the name of it. I think it's called Shiro Dreams of Sushi or something like that. But basically, it's just a documentary about this old Japanese dude owns a restaurant in Japan, and he makes sushi. But his sushi is so good, and he applies such craftsmanship to the whole process, to his ingredients choice, to his hands, you know, what he's doing with his hands, everything, that you have to reserve. It's like an intimate setting. You have to reserve well in advance. It's going to cost you $100 to eat there. And he has just basically honed the experience down to this beautiful moment that you can basically just take away for the rest of your life. And I was like, I need the poetry or the art or the music version of that sushi place. Yeah. And that's what I've been chasing for like the last 3 years or so, whatever it is, since I've seen that. I'm like, I really just want to capture that. How can I convince someone to pay let's say $20 to come see 2 poems? Can I do that? Can I generate enough value in that experience to do that? And so that's what I try to conceive of. And you know, and you can see that in my palette of shows where I've attempted to kind of generate that experience. There was one time I was working with Mark Lomax, the drummer, Dr. Mark Lomax. And I said, yo, man, I want to do this show with you. It's just going to be me and you, which is not new. I've worked with Mark for 19 years. And I said, but we're just going to do like a real high art experience. I'm going to do a poem. You're going to do a drum piece, and then we're going to do a combined thing, and then that's it. That's the end of the show. And we all be out of there in an hour. Tops. We'll have a Q&A if they want, but we're out of there. That's it. And he was like, Mark, just, you know, of course. You know, so, and that's what we did. We did a piece, we did this thing called A Bad Piece. I did this poem, it was long. And then, if you ever see pictures of me like doing a poem and there's like paper all over the floor, I just performed that poem. Yeah. And so, because you got to make it worth people's time, it's got to catch. Yeah. And then Mark did a drum solo piece, and then we did this combined piece based on the poem I wrote for that called "What You're Smiling For." It's basically about the Black art experience of kind of putting on a face for audiences that may not get your experience. It's kind of deep when we do it. And that was it. I did 3 pieces and it was out. mind you, we didn't charge anybody for that show, but that was just because it was an experiment. Mm-hmm. Now that I know that people will do that, who knows? The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what it's about. Like, you can't, you could throw a party. If you just want to throw parties, throw parties. Don't try to turn it into something that it ain't. But,
and I'm a big fan of that too.
Right. We can party.
Yeah, we can party. We can get down. We can do whatever you think needs to be done right now, in this very moment. That it's not pertinent. That I don't know. I guess I just get annoyed by maybe it's just me. I just get annoyed by everybody saying feeling like that it needs to be. It has to be supported. Every single time to the same capacity, but what are you doing? What are you doing to make sure that the experience is something other than what somebody went to the week before?
Yeah,
you guys doing that piece together and just saying one and done for a while leaves people time to kind of want that back.
Sure,
kind of that's why Missy Elliott ain't putting out albums, because she don't have to.
Right.
She knows she can drop a dope record and a dope video every 10 years or every 2 years now,
right? And
just be like, you don't need another album for me. You want another album? Let me do this Katy Perry halftime show, and then I'll watch all my music go to top 10 in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Which is exactly what happened.
Which is still dope.
It's still dope. It's all still dope. It hits. So if you know you got hits, or you got a body of work that people can frequent, then I'm a fan of that more than anything. I'm a fan of being able to produce something that has a lifespan beyond the night that it's attached to.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what, to me, that's what kind of Holler created was like this, I feel like we're not going to see the breath that has for a while.
Okay.
In Columbus. I feel like we'll kind of see pockets of what it did.
Yeah.
But I feel like just that one moment has a lifespan that I don't know if we'll live to see it. I feel like it's constantly people are constantly accessing that energy to kind of spill it into we did after we did Holler, we did the Black Power mixtape here, and that was the same kind of energy that I was trying to capture, what we did with Holler for that one show. Yeah. It's trying to fill that bucket up again, and spill it out for the people to consume.
Yeah,
we always are trying to refill that energy bucket.
Well, for me, I'm trying to create culture. That's what I'm trying to do. And culture encompasses a great many things. It's not just art. It's also cuisine. It's also fashion. It's also language. It's ideas. And so, but a lot of that gets transmitted through art, which is why our job is so important, right, as creatives. And so, to me, hopefully, that's what's happening all the time. Somebody's kind of thinking back or looking back on it or reflecting on it and saying, let's do this experience. Because, Holler was just, 31 shows, but the real power of it is the energy and the culture that it exposed, and kind of tied together, connecting people that were not going to other people's shows and that kind of thing. And so, to me, that's its real success. What it did when it happened is cool, but I'm not getting a bunch of phone calls and meetings with people and organizations now for something that happened at this point a year ago, literally a year ago. For them to recreate it, they want what else I might have in the chamber. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is fine. That's how that's supposed to work.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example, if I may.
Yeah.
I did the Spark show at the end of last year called Gentrified. And, talking about gentrification, especially in Columbus, is like a real big deal with me. And so, I did the art show. It was all food-based art. And, basically it were food sculptures, basically is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the night, all of the stuff that took weeks to prepare, the stuff that took 2 cooks to prepare, that, cost me, hundreds of dollars in supplies, all of that got chucked into the dumpster at the end of the night. The show was literally there for like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And, everything went into the dumpster. So that's kind of like, to me, that was like the most aggressive version of the idea of had to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But not just that, too. Like, to me, you gotta, I like stuff, I like art and events that apply very clear mission without beating me over the head. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, gentrification is a bad thing. And it's bad because it destroys culture. It removes people and culture.
Yeah.
And so, to me, you need to feel what that's like in real concrete terms. And so, I'm going to take all this art that you think is dope and I'm going to throw it in the trash, and you will never see it again after tonight. Mm. Just like gentrification.
Yeah.
So, the people were like, really like, you really going to? And I was like, dude, this stuff is gone. It's gone.
You got it. Sometimes I feel like that shock and awe mentality of like letting people know that like making something, it just makes a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the feeling that you have once you see that thing
mm-hmm.
is what I'm trying to keep,
Absolutely.
give you to keep. Now, not to say that I don't want to sell a painting. Like,
right.
To sustaining that idea, I want you to that's what I hope people do when they buy my work, is say, like, I'm trying to have this feeling forever.
Right.
So I need that feeling.
Yes.
Not necessarily this thing that's attached to it, this image that's attached to it. But
mm-hmm.
like, this image gives me that feeling that like we're trying to hold on to. I think that's like the constant journey that we're trying to do as creative folks. It's just give people like that either like that tickle, or if it's like a euphoric feeling, or
mm-hmm.
like a nostalgic feeling, just to have that for longer than the 17 seconds it takes to come and like experience the piece of artwork
right.
in front of them, or the 2 minutes of a poem,
right.
or like 3 minutes of a song.
Right.
You have to like figure out how we capitalize on these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I got some more questions.
Sure.
And I'm going to try to spitfire some of these. And if you can give quick answers, that's cool.
Sure.
But this is like my behind the inside the actor studio questionnaire moment that I'm going to give the people, just so they know. We kind of talked about some of these, but let's try. What is your greatest fear?
Failure.
Which cultural figure do you identify with most?
Prince.
God.
God.
Yes. What's your favorite quote from a song?
Today it is. I've been really rocking this new Fontaine record real hard.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff in there I haven't put in the dome yet, but it's going.
Yeah.
But I think it was this line he used. He said, he's talking about, well, whatever. Anyhow, the line basically is, I don't want to have to cry. Oh, I don't want to cry at your Lorraine Hand's burial.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, that's so dope. So, I got to unpack that.
Yeah, that's unpacking. Now, what turned you on creatively?
Originality. Something I've never seen before.
What turns you off?
money grabs.
Yeah. What's the last dope thing that you've experienced?
Besides the Fontaine record?
Besides the Fontaine record.
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
That's the top right there.
Wakanda forever. The problem with having the questions on your phone is the screen.
Black Panther the next 20 years.
Yeah. Who in your creative collective keeps you motivated? Like who's the person that you like got an eye on when you either work with them or you know they have a show out that you see and you're like, if this is as dope as I think it's going to be, like I'm really going to have to get back in my bag and try to like figure out like what I'm going to come with next.
Yeah,
they can't just be out here killing it.
It's got to be Mark Lomax. Yeah, that cat's putting out 20 albums, like literally, like right now.
Oh.
You know, so yeah, he keeps me grounded and pushing at the same time.
Awesome. What profession would you explore if you weren't a creative? Something that you dreamed of as a kid that was outside of the creative realm.
Well, I originally went to school for architecture.
Really?
Yeah, but that lasted all of 2 quarters before they kicked me out of OSU. True story.
Scott Wood's the architect.
Yeah, I still have a love for it.
Yeah,
I just can't do it.
Speaking of, there's a decent documentary that's out about a guy who in New York who photographs face sculptures on old buildings in New York. And he has like this fascination with them. I need to send you the link to it. So, yeah. What do you consider your greatest achievement so far? Holler.
Got to be. I mean, I can't think of anything better than that.
What is the best advice you have to give your fellow creators?
Be original. Really go out of your way to be original. And don't just come up with a dumb idea. Research good ideas. That's the part that's missing, right? Cats come up with these twists and they go, nobody's ever done that before. And that's true, but there's probably a reason why.
Yeah.
So I beg you to just go to things that are dope that you don't know and try to figure out why they're dope. Go to the museum. Why is the museum dope? Go to a symphony concert. Why is the symphony dope? And then try to find yourself in it. You know.
Dope. Now, this is a tough question. I'm going to let you know this. A lot of people don't like answering it.
I'm going to love it then.
The top 5 creatives in any industry of all time.
I gotta think it through. Of all time.
Of all time. Don't have to be in order. There has to be 5 of them. And it can change. It's allowed to change.
Nah, day to day. I get it.
Day.
So, I wrote down 2 names right out the gate. Da Vinci.
Dope.
I mean, come on, the dude's a polymath.
Yeah.
The master polymath. Prince. And then I gotta think. Of all time?
All time.
All time.
It's so damn final.
I mean, as a writer, the temptation is to go with Shakespeare. But I can't do that. I just have to put it out there.
I have to put it out there just so it's on the record.
Yeah. I'm going to say, well, I mean, I'm going to go with, Isaac Asimov.
Isaac Asimov. Right.
The writer. who published something like 400 books before he died. A handful of which were his day-to-day journals. That's 3.
Oh man! So it's when you get down to the last 2 or the last ones.
Hemingway changed poetry completely, but I don't like him enough. I'm gonna go back to music. All time. It's that all time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna say this is controversial, but I got to go there. I'm gonna say Son House, the blues musician.
All right.
Robert Johnson learned from Son House.
Okay.
He's probably the best storyteller in all of blues ever, and that's saying a lot.
Dope.
Yeah, I don't know the 5th one. I might have to give the Shakespeare by default.
Yeah.
Just because I know you pressed the time. There you go.
How about is this the last question? My last final question. I always ask. We always talk about like the mark that we leave kind of on culture as a whole as creators.
Yeah.
What would you like people to know when they write in their history books, and they will, about Scott Woods? And whether in Columbus or on a global scale, what is the legacy? What do you see like them saying about you?
I never knew what he was going to do next.
That's dope. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
awesome.
it.
This is awesome.
And that was the first Sketching with David Butler. I'll see you next time.